The energy market operator warns the East Coast could face blackouts if the nation's biggest coal-fired power station closes in 2027. Live to our political correspondent Cam Redden. Cam, there are concerns about infrastructure supporting renewables, that it might not be ready on time.
Have you ever heard of a synchronous condenser, Laura? Have you ever seen one? Well, you're about to. This is what they look like, and this is what AEMO is worried about. I could not have told you what this is or was until about an hour ago, but this is what AEMO is worried about, not being ready on time to make sure that renewables can get the energy to where it needs to go in time. They're saying that these condensers, which are basically described as AEMO as big spinning machines, will not be ready for when Eraring is due to close in 2027. That's Australia's biggest coal-fired power station. It's already been extended once by the New South Wales government, and the energy market operator is warning today that without that critical infrastructure in place to make sure that renewables can meet the demand as and when required, that there may be a heightened risk of blackouts if Eraring closes on time. There is a way for the New South Wales government to extend it even further to 2029, but the head of AEMO, Daniel Westerman, is warning today about the ongoing need to extend coal-fired power stations. He says, yes, there are gaps opening up in the system, but he warns that these stations, Eraring and others, are at their end of life and are at risk of breaking, that they can't be relying on the constant extension of these coal-fired power stations.
You'll hear the name synchronous condensers. These are big spinning machines on the grid that really keep a stable heartbeat, and they need to be in place before the closure of major coal-fired power stations. These coal plants are just getting old. They are going to retire. If they're not withdrawn, they're going to break, and we need to be ready for that.
And this is going to be an accelerating problem over the years ahead, making sure that not just the renewables themselves, but all the infrastructure around them are ready. Now, AEMO says it's comfortable with the amount of electricity that solar and wind will provide. But take a look at this. This is the number of slated coal-fired power station closures over just the next 10 years. 3 out of 4 in New South Wales gone. Yallourn is the next big one in Victoria, 2028. It'll be down 2 out of 3 by 2035. Most of Queensland's coal-fired stations are closing at the back end of the 2030s, but even they will have closures by 2035 as well. The government says there's nothing to worry about here because gas is going to come online, in particular the big new Kurri Kurri plant, which is part of Snowy Hydro. There are experts worried, though, that reliance on gas, if there's too much of it and if renewables aren't shouldering enough of the load, could lead to higher prices for households.
Well, Kurri Kurri should come online before then. So we're pretty confident that there'll be enough capacity in the system to provide that firming and to ensure that stability in the system. The New South Wales government is fast-tracking those synchronous condensers, which are the machines that provide that stability. But we're pretty confident.
Gas is the most expensive of the electricity sources we have today. So I don't think having more gas is the long-term solution. It is important in the short term, and as we need those periods of time when the renewables aren't there or coal isn't even there to use gas, but we certainly do not want to be depending upon gas as a major source of energy or electricity because it will be very expensive.
And Laura, I have just received this statement from the Energy Minister, Chris Bowen, in response to this latest warning from AEMO, certainly not their first of power shortfalls over the years ahead. He says after a decade of delay, dysfunction and denial, the government is now getting on with rebuilding Australia's energy grid with the lowest cost form of energy, which is renewable energy. And he goes on to say the energy market operator in its report today also calls out the cheaper home batteries and solar sharer offer. That's that 3 hours of free power in the middle of the day the government's announced as policies that won't just deliver lower bills for households, but also help secure our modern, reliable grid. Of course, Laura, he mentions there a decade of delay and dysfunction. Referring to the coalition, this government has, of course, been in for more than the last 3 years.